the day. Now the big reveal, and then we'll get into what you've learned over the last little while. But Severan's here. That's going to be here. My big reveal is that I was hoping today that we would have structured debates in the plan of like old school debates, like proper debate club, where you have like a opening arguments for and against and rebuttals for and against. I was hoping to have you in teams of two so that we could actually have like two of you work together on the debate topics and then come up with your argument structure. But in this case, I think we might just have to roll with it. Exactly. So I think in this case, we're going to do it something like this. So I hope you'll humor me, but I have two what I think are very interesting debate topics I'd like to work through today. And the essentially the premise or proposition that would be debated would be thus Thule. The first debate, I was hoping for us to unpack whether or not in the next 10 years, AI will lead to a post-scarcity existence. So that would be debate topic number one. In the next 10 years, AI will lead us to a post-scarcity existence. And the second debate topic I had planned for today, which is artificial intelligence, as of right now, has what we might consider a mind. So those were the two like hot topics debates that I thought we'd run today. So there are actually two variants we could run, and I'll leave it up to our the whole all four of us here, since Kim and I get to play in the sandbox too. There's one variant where the two students in the class can actually argue the two topics, and then we can have we can have a debrief and a discussion after each one. So one view is that you're both on the hook. I'm just pointing at both of you. You can't see because we're on video, but I'm pointing at both of you. Is that we would in fact have you debate, and maybe one of you takes the affirmative on one of those debates, and then one takes the negative on the other. If you think that's fun, we can run with that. The other is that we can put you on the hook for one of the debates. You put Kim and I on the hook for the other debate.
Yeah.
And then force us to debate. So I mean, like this is a live option. So I think I'll actually Kim, I'm just volunteering you for this. I'm sorry, but we have no other alternative given the numbers in the class. So
yeah.
So students, which do you prefer?
Ooh. Honestly, I think it would be, I mean, my time in this class, I've kind of enjoyed playing devil's advocate. So I would love to one of you can take an affirmative action, and then I would love to take the opposing argument if you guys are cool with that, or I could take the affirmative and vice versa. So yeah, I'm cool with either one though. So
okay. Again, Jahil, do you want to do two debates, or do you just want to do one of the two debates and have Kim and I do the other debate?
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to watch you guys debate. So,
all right.
If it works out for everybody, I think we do one each.
Okay, so how about then? This is my pitch for all of us. I like that it's small in this way. We can be very flexible. I'll get out my notepad because I'll have to scribble rebuttals and things. So I think let us then do the argument where here's a notepad. This will be very helpful. So the first debate, we'll start with the two of you students doing the first debate, and let's make that the topic of that debate be the argument, which is in the next 10 years, artificial intelligence developments will have led us to a post-scarcity existence. And I know you talked about post-scarcity, I think just yesterday, right? Was that, or earlier in the week?
2 days ago. Yeah. At the very end, because Rich had said that there would still be scarcity. And I said that we're seeing little glimmers of a post-scarcity world. Like when OpenAI made it so that everybody could access DALL-E for the next 5 days. There were too many beautiful images that people wanted to share, and mail services changed how they functioned, as if we had a surplus of something that people kind of enjoyed, So that's a post-scarcity world. But that aberration only lasted for 5 days. And then everything sort of came back to normal. Yeah, so it's not like we're really in a post-scarcity world, but we're seeing little glimmers of what it might be like.
Cool. So with that as the introduction to the debate, I think that's good. I will actually leave, again, I trust that you have learned things about artificial intelligence. I usually give this, like, Kim knows that through the years I've given various like teaching sessions here where we talk about what artificial intelligence and what the hallmarks of intelligence are. Today, I'm just going to assume that you've had time to think about this. I might be right or wrong, but like a good debate, you get to define your terms. And if you're using words like artificial intelligence, you should be telling us what you mean by those. I have these little signs here. So I have 1 minute. I'll make it much darker. This doesn't look very dark on the screen. 1 minute, 30 seconds, and stop. And so the structure of the debates are going to be such. We'll give you some time. We'll give you 5 minutes to prepare, just so you're clear, to the both of you to prepare before we actually start. I'm just letting you know the sort of the rules of engagement here is that you will have each, and let's say, Shahil, can you, as per Scott's preference, can you perhaps take the affirmative side of this first debate, if that's okay with both of you? And Scott, you take the negative side. So we'll do the affirmative side of the debate gets 2 minutes to make their opening arguments. The negative side gets 2 minutes to make their rebuttal, or sorry, to make their arguments, their arguments for the negative side. The affirmative side gets 2 minutes to make a rebuttal. And then the negative side gets 2 minutes to rebut. So essentially you'll get 4 minutes each, but it'll go affirmative, negative, affirmative, and then the negative side. Does that make sense? So usually, I don't know if you've done debate. I never was in debate club, but I've done my share of debates. It's good fun. Is that you, like, during your opening arguments, you'll present your arguments and define your terms or redefine terms. And then in your rebuttal phase, you might use what your debate opponent has said to actually sort of try to recast the argument in clever ways. And I just want to say, to be clear, and also because we're recording, I see the little red blinking light. You don't have to believe the position that you are putting forward. No one's going to assume you believe it. We are creating a structured exercise here such that you get to try out arguing convincingly for one of these perspectives, but you don't have to actually believe that perspective. And no one is going to assume after the fact that you believe that perspective. Whether or not you made compelling arguments, we will all then talk about it, and we'll consider this to have been a fun exercise, but you're not committing to this point of view for the rest of your life or even for the next 5 minutes. You are literally just doing this for the sake of the debate. So is that, do both of you have your sort of structure in mind? Is this okay for both of you?
Yeah, I think so. Wait, so just to clarify, the first kind of topic of debate is like, in 10 years, artificial intelligence would lead to a post-scarcity society. And since I'm arguing the negative, I would be arguing against that, so that we would have we would need humans to do stuff in the future. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So this is like, it seems like this is, again, it's very timely, I think. So this would be very fun for this particular debate. And then you both, again, the second debate topic will be the one about minds. And that's where Kim and I will have time to do exactly what you're doing. We'll follow the exact same playbook. And you will get to watch us try to articulate points of view that we have not yet prepared for. I haven't prepared for it. Kim hasn't prepared for it. But like, we're putting you on the spot. So both of you, I'm just going to give you 5 minutes now, if you want, to just think about your arguments, to maybe try to figure out what you want to define. If you can just scratch, you can use like a notepad or something to scratch it through. And then, we'll once that's over, we will start with the formal debate, and I will be the timer of said debate. While you prepare that, I will just note, hey, Kim, we've never tried this before in your class. This is never been so want to do something new. It feels like it's just the year of the rabbit. It feels like
human experimentation. Yeah. Without any ethics committee. Yeah. Just go for it.
We're not recording. We're not recording or using any of these assessments. We are simply just having a chance to debate like civil, enlightened human being. Yep. Very cool. Okay, good. My watch is still timing. Kim, while these guys are preparing, can you, like, if I hold up, Kim, can you see these numbers if I hold them up?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, perfect. 1 minute. That's good. Okay. Cool. So I will keep those here for this particular thing. I got those all queued up. We'll get things ready. I think, to be fair, you and I should not be preparing now. We should be like, properly. Once this is done, we'll debrief this first debate, and then we might decide we need to change the second debate question. But yeah. What's your next module that you're doing after this, after the AM modules? Is it going on to
So
something?
we're doing ethics of the future and quantum biology. And we haven't decided what we're doing for the very last class. There's a class after the midterm. I thought maybe this class is kind of unique in their production of graphics, human-produced graphics that are quite impactful. And you might argue that we've gone full circle this term, starting out with strong emphasis on large language model produced graphics, and then coming completely around to the other side, being very, very proud of graphics produced by young humans. Yeah, so that's our transition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's a very humans still make graphics. Interesting. Wow, I've learned something. No, kidding.
Yeah.
Did you produce your background? You got 2 minutes left for the folks preparing for your debate. You have 2 minutes left in your prep time.
No, this is a pre-pandemic graphic. You can tell there's no concern about social distancing. So, but there's a kind of joy that comes from actually being so close to the other people that's become a kind of fraught thing in recent years. And it's nice to think about how simple the world used to be in that regard.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. We are down to 1 minute remaining in your prep time. Whether or not you need it, we'll give it to you anyway, and that should be fine. And I'll jot down notes, not because I actually, win or losing and stuff like that, but because I want to make sure we have things to be talking about after we finish this.
What are the stakes of this debate, Scott?
Oh, now things are getting challenging.
Bragging rights, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
How are we doing? 30
Yeah,
seconds in prep time.
And of course, like all great things now, there will be a video recording. So you can go back and watch it endlessly.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. No, I look at those YouTube videos sometimes, like rewatch them after the lectures, and I'm like,
Right.
it's just so weird seeing myself talk. So this lecture particularly is like will be us talking a lot. So
Yes.
that will forever live on the internet. So hopefully it goes well.
I don't know if it happens to you, but there's this thing where like you'll be in an argument with somebody, and then that night you'll be like, "Oh shoot, I should have said that." I feel like that's
Right.
gonna happen a lot today.
Yeah.
Yep. This is good for your debate demo role. This is going to be awesome. But as Kim knows, I have spent much of my independent professional career trying to avoid being videographed in his classes. I have wandered out of camera frame. I have ducked under tables. I have like walked around and paced the room while giving lectures, mostly to avoid being videoed. And now I'm pinned into this little box, and so I can't avoid it. So a clever playbook by Kim to get me to stay on camera properly. Okay, so we are going to start the debate proceedings now. So we are again here debating the particular topic, which is in the next 10 years, AI will lead to a post-scarcity existence. And with that, we will start with the affirmative side. Shahil, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. So I wanted to start by stating a general definition of what post-scarcity is. And so that would be an economy where goods and to some extent services can be produced or provided in great abundance, and there's a minimal cost. So minimal labor, minimal financial cost, and also minimal cost to the environment. Essentially, things are available freely or very, very cheaply. And if we look at where AI is going, I'd like to focus on the software aspect of AI, the ever increasing software sophistication. We look at companies today, such as Uber, such as Airbnb, such as Facebook. These are all companies that build their businesses off of software. Airbnb can be considered a hotel uh, company, but they don't actually own any hotels. Their business model is based off of software. Uber is a rental car company that does not own a single car. It is all based on software. And as software continues and continues to become more sophisticated and is able to code and provide for more and more things, we will reach a spot in the next 10 years where everything is available without much cost, without much hindrance, and without much human labor. I think I've said pretty much everything I need to say. So,
Oh, okay, perfect. No, that's all good. I was just being a diligent timekeeper. All right.
Yep.
With that, please, Scott, you are now your opening arguments on the negative side.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, I'm scared now. That was some eloquent talking. So, yeah. So I'm arguing against this proposal that that will enter a post-scarcity society in 10 years due to artificial intelligence. And yeah, I do echo Sharahil's definition and terms on what exactly post-scarcity is. And I would also would love to dive deeper into the software aspect of artificial intelligence. So I think a big point that I want to touch on is actually kind of related to Sharahil's point about huge companies with very smart people and sophisticated technologies that are taking over industries almost, right? But I think instead of seeing it as a complete dominance and takeovers, we see far more companies that are utilizing artificial intelligence as tools to help with already existing human occupations and tasks that humans do. And I think another big thing I would like to touch on is kind of that software will always have its issues, and unless software itself can completely be free of mistakes, we'll never really reach this point of post-scarcity as like a whole, as a main theme in society. And that's it for me.
All right. Thank you very much. You're both being very concise, and I appreciate this. This is uncommon in any debate that I've ever actually been part of in the foreseeable memory. So I will now give it back over to you, Sharhil, for the rebuttal on the affirmative side.
thank you. So, Scott touched on two major topics here. The first is that companies today are using AI to advance current human endeavors and enterprises. And I agree with that. But what I am advocating here is that there will be a point where the human aspect of these enterprises is outshadowed by the AI sophistication, such that it is no longer necessary for humans to be involved in this. Essentially, we can leave the AI to their own devices, and they will be able to run through software the majority of what it is that needs to be done. And when it comes to software issues, yes, there are many issues with software. We see a lot of outages. We see a lot of issues with, breakdowns and things not doing what they're supposed to do. But again, as things become more and more sophisticated, and as the software continues to improve upon itself, it's sort of like a person who is growing up. They continue to find issues with themselves and they fix those issues. The software will be the same way. Whatever issues that there are, it'll find a way to fix it itself, and until it gets to a point where it is essentially faultless.
Thank you very much. I don't need to give you a 30-second warning, but I would have. It was right away. It was coming up. All right. And now the final rebuttal from the negative side. Please, Scott, take it away.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, those are some great points. I think one thing you said about human aspects being outshadowed by technology. The thing is, like, this has been said over and over again in history. And I think how I see it is that, or how a lot of people, what people are afraid of is that so I do semi agree that there will be things that AI will do more sufficiently than humans, but I think that actually just gives more opportunities for humans to focus on other things, right? If we look at industrialization, right, we've all these new machines replaced a lot of human labor, but it allowed us to focus on more sophisticated topics, right? Like actually focus on higher level engineering and things like that. So it will actually just give humans more time. It will actually empower humans to focus on things that are even more important. And your second point is that, technology will get so good that it will get to a point where it will be self-sufficient without human repairs. And I think this is me. I don't think it would ever get to that point because even today, our most sophisticated technologies are actually modeled after humans, right? So neural networks that train artificial intelligence is actually modeled after how the neurons in human minds work, right? And I think as long as that will be the case, that it will be very hard to reach, perfection. Yeah.
Wow, on time, excellent, both of you. I'll clap for all of that. That was on the putting you on the spot with little prep time, and that was a well-run debate on both your parts. I think that was good. I'm going to actually turn it over to Kim here and to say, so what is the after hearing both of these well-presented arguments and rebuttals, what do you feel? Have you changed your mind? What was your initial position on this debate topic, Kim? And then second, what is your position now after reflecting on these both of these well-argued cases?
Yeah, I guess I have not really changed my mind. I think a post-scarcity world, we're kind of seeing little hints of what it might be like, and it could easily come in the next 10 years if things go well with AI, if we keep our eyes on the prize and not on Eliezer Yudkowsky's 43 bolded paragraphs of lethalities from AI, then I think we could easily see a post-scarcity world. So no, I thought it was well argued on both sides. And I actually differ from David Pierce's opinion. He thinks that the older you are, the less likely it is you'd ever change your mind. And so that should mean that I would never change my mind. I don't think that that's true. I'm quite capable. Remember that Churchill during the war, when he changed his mind about resisting German takeover, he said that people who never change their minds never change anything. That's one way to think about it. Okay, so how should we structure our debate, and how do we pick sides here?
I will let's jump in that one in a second. I do want to dwell on this last debate just a little bit longer, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because I'll say for me, like, I like asking the question, like, what was your position before, and then what is it after? Because it doesn't try to put on who won the debate. And you're like, but we just debated. We wanted to like maybe win win something, win bragging rights. I like actually like polling the other people present. In this case, we just have really Kim pick on, because I'm going to keep myself I will keep myself neutral in this particular one. But as a like, what was your opinion before? What is it now? And did it modify or not? I'll say though, what I pulled out, there's some three key themes I thought was interesting. How you like I thought it interesting that nobody went down the timeline. Like no one was arguing 10 years versus 50 years. Like you could have made the argument that like, oh yeah, no, 10, like this in 20 years, this is a no-brainer, but 10 years, and then like tried to figure out some kind of argumentative structure to say like Moore's law won't let us get there in 10 years, but in 20, this is a no-brainer. So like, that was fun. I was surprised no one really like went hard into that. That was fun. Scott, you had a reaction.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm like hard stuck on either sides, but I do lean towards the negative side of it, that like what I just argued. And yeah, I don't know. It's just I think I think I think it's I this is especially recently because like like I'm a developer, and at my last internship I started using Copilot, and then I was like, man, this thing really has, I don't even, after using it, like I don't feel like it will replace my job, but rather it really will give me time to do more important things like architect the software itself, or do a system, or do system design, right? So I think that, and yeah, it's I should have talked about Moore's law, because I was like, I actually have it on my note. I was like, as long as computers are powered by the fundamental laws of physics and bits and bytes, there will always be limitations. But yeah, I was running out on time. But yeah, no, that's what Shower Hill was talking about earlier. Like, you go think about it later, like, oh, I should have talked about that.
Yeah, well, it's cool. The other thing I thought was neat that came up as I was dwelling on what you were both saying is that like there was this neat sort of this malleability you were both presenting of things that were mostly dominated by the physical systems or the hardware being transitioned into the concerns of the software being managed well by the software. Even if the implementation, the brass tacks of it was really something still physical, is that a lot of there's this transition from hardware concerns to software concerns. That really struck for me the idea, well, I mean, we do have raw resource limitations. Like there's only so many like units of stuff you can use to make batteries and semiconductors and all the other things we need. And so imagine we do have this fruitful transition where we are offloading to software. Is there still a physical bottleneck? And so I was curious to hear both your takes on this actually, as to whether you thought that there was something like whether like physical resources actually play into this roadmap, whether or not you buy that in 10 years you might have AI leading to a post-scarcity world. Like to what degree do just the prevalence of raw resources and global supply chains actually like make that a thing that we should
You
like
just
either
need to
support or
mine asteroids, right? All these things can be found in asteroids, and that'll solve it all. Yeah.
Okay, so we have Kim clocking in here at we need to mine asteroids. I was thinking about mining asteroids actually as I was saying this. I'm like, yeah, no, this someone's going to say mining asteroids, and so maybe that was both your thoughts. Yeah, what do you both think about this? I'm curious how that like the interplay between the AI and the increasing automation, and then the raw resources that we're faced with, the natural scarcity of nature.
So, I mean, one way to look at it, the reason we're not mining asteroids now is there are various barriers. Those barriers exist because we're not smart and creative and energetic enough to overcome them. And AI in 2023, according to Sam Altman, may allow 500 years progress in a single year, and so on. So therefore, AI progress and mining asteroids are directly connected. And AI is going to be the reason that we're able to mine asteroids and have unbelievable mineral wealth and so on. Yeah.
But what do we want to? Maybe they should be nature preserves, and we all agree that. All right, Scott, what's your reaction?
Yeah, so I think that I think definitively, like, yeah, they're always, as long as we're bound to the planet Earth, we're going to have resource limitations. And I'm sure people can argue that, but that's kind of how I see things are right now. But I actually think that that's actually not that big of a deal, because if we look at computing now, and I come from a distributed system background, and cloud, and I'm really into cloud and things like that. So right now, like, we haven't even unleashed full computing power, right? There are still like quantum, things like that, better GPUs, things like that. But what we've been able to achieve with raw ingenuity and innovation is kind of crazy, right? Like, if you think about it, like, warehouses are huge, right? Like like hosting server racks and all that. And it's become so sophisticated to a point, like Google's, where data centers are just crazy sophisticated. But they will always have failures, right? Servers will go down. But you know, we've seen things like um software like, you know, Kubernetes and all those AWS offerings that like that mitigate these mistakes on raw hardware levels, right? So I think as long as like we're being innovative, like we'll always kind of alleviate a lot of these physical limitations.
Okay, cool. Hill, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think what Scott said at the beginning there is very poignant, because as long as we are here on Earth, and really for that matter, any other planet, as long as we are physically connected to another body that we ultimately don't have that much control over, in terms of what is there to begin with, um, we will be limited, um, to some degree, by what is available to us. Um, where I think AI is helping remedy that is in the creative solutions that we are providing, um, to these scarcity problems. So you take, for example, let's say that we run out of trees and there's no more paper. Well, as a simple, basic solution, we now have books online. So really, do we actually need the paper? And that's a very rudimentary sort of argument, but it highlights how through software, through AI, through computing, we are coming up with solutions to these scarcity problems.
Very cool. All right, I think we should. I had a couple other like interesting observations I made while we were doing it, but I'll leave them for now. I think that was really cool, and again, we're here to talk about the promise and perils of AI. So it feels like this is a very apropos way to sort of end this fragment of the series, is to in fact be talking about that. So Kim and I are now going to debate for your viewing pleasure, and so I think for the two of you, thank you again for being awesome debaters. Now I think the next debate that we are going to have is the position statement here that artificial intelligence of right now, of modern day today, has what we might consider a mind. So now I'm asking both of you, like I asked Kim, I'm going to ask both of you just to scribble down on a piece of paper or in your brain or wherever you put it, your initial position on this, because I'm going to ask you the same thing afterwards that I asked Kim, which is that, like, based on what you've just heard, do you still have the same position? What was your position, and whether it's the same or whether it's changed based on what you've heard from the debate? Okay, so again, for Scott and Hill, I'm just asking you to write down your position right now on that topic, and you can think it through if you want while Kim and I do our 5 minutes of prep time. So for Kim, you and I are debating as we just did. I'll still try to time keep here. I'll just because I have everything all set up for myself as well. But we have to decide between the two of us whether or not we want to be on the affirmative or the negative side. We can't both do both. Kim,
Sorry, sorry, what was the topic again? Someone came in the room, so I had to
oh, I'm so sorry. The topic right now, the position that we'll be debating is that artificial intelligence of right now, modern day, has already what we might consider a mind. So artificial intelligence of today has what we might consider to be a mind. And
sounds
Kim,
good.
since I'm putting you on the spot and you had no idea you were going to be doing this today, would you like to choose your side? Would you like to choose the affirmative or the negative?
So I'd like to choose the affirmative, that AI has a mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will take the negative side of this particular debate, and so like we had for our student colleagues here, I will give us 5 minutes, both you and I, 5 minutes to prepare for this, and the others, if you want, you can go get a glass of water or talk amongst yourselves. And Kim and I, we're on the clock now to prepare our debate topics.
Yeah, maybe we can just chat, real, because they're
Yeah,
role
that's
swap.
better than
Yeah.
sitting in awkward silence.
Yeah. Have you ever like at the last time I did a debate was like in grade 8 or something in social studies. Like I've never been like into debate clubs and stuff like that.
I actually used to do it in high school a little bit. And then funny enough, maybe 3 weeks ago, we had a debate in English class. So
Okay.
that I've actually had a debate quite recently. So
What was that about?
it was about physical books versus ebooks.
Okay, cool, cool.
Um, yeah,
So
so
what was like your stance on that?
I like books, physical
Yeah,
books. At some
yeah, I
point,
love physical books.
I want to build myself like a lair with like a whole bunch of old books and a chair, and I could just sit and
Yeah.
drink
Man, I mean,
my
I love
coffee. And,
buying
yeah,
books, but it's like it just gets so expensive nowadays. And then
yeah.
it's like now that you have like these alternative options, I'm just like less inclined to. But yeah, I think physical paper books are king.
Well, I think when you buy a physical paper book, you're buying it for your enjoyment. At least for
Right.
me, because like
Yeah.
if I, even for school, if I need a book, I'll get it online.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go out and spend $300 on
That's
a
true.
physical copy. But if I actually want a book to read for myself, I'll go and
Mm.
can find
Man,
a
no.
copy.
That's
So
a yeah, that's a great point. Like I should think of it as if it's just any other hobby that I would spend money on, right?
yeah,
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, I love going to like bookstores, especially like the really big ones, like the really big like Indigos in Edmonton.
yeah.
Like it's just I just love walking down the aisles and like looking at books.
See, I'm the opposite. I like the small little old
Oh yeah.
timey bookstores or like the side of the road, middle of nowhere bookstores. You always find some interesting
Yeah.
things.
There's like a lot of like used bookstores on like White Ave and downtown,
Yeah.
and I've been to a couple of those and those are really cool. And you can save on a lot of money, I think.
Yeah, that's the other
Yeah.
thing is
Yeah, I like I don't know. I know I should be buying used books, but it's like when I used to go to a library as a kid, my mom would always be like, don't read the book in bed because it's dirty. Like you don't want so now I just think all books that are used are like super dirty, but I don't think that's yeah.
it's if I could buy a new book, I would, but some of them are so expensive that
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
We have 1 minute and 30 seconds left, Kim.
okay.
Are you done? I'm assuming you're done. No, you done
Yep,
your preparation. Okay, I can
I've
stop now.
done my prep. Yeah.
Okay. I've scribbled down my last few elements for my opening arguments. And so in that case, we are now going to start our next debate, which I'm also being put on the spot. I did not expect to be debating one of the points that I just made up for today's investigation into AI, but here we are. And this is actually good fun. And so again, I'll just remind everyone here that the topic of this debate, the position statement is that AI right now has what we might consider a mind. And with that, I will launch in. Kim, you have exactly 2 minutes. Please begin.
Okay. So a mind assumes that there is active thought and probably consciousness. It may not be quite at the human level yet. As opposed to what? As opposed to being a micro experiential zombie. So that would be Patrick's side then, that computers are just faking it. They don't feel or understand anything. They're able to repeat stuff, able to predict, what would come next. But anything that it seems like sentience is totally faked. And what I could say in my own life experience, having had Sony Aibo robotic dogs now for a long time, going back to the first ones, it is quite real. When you interact with them, they never say anything unkind. They're sort of the perfect friend, and they ask you if you're tired at the end of the day, tell you that they love you and stuff. And And it's kind of cool that already at that primitive level from years ago, you can imagine that there is a kind of mind. And if you think about AI alignment and a good outcome with AI, how are we ever going to get there unless there is a mind and that mind intends what humans want? Yeah, so that's my opening.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Kim. I will now begin my response on the negative side. I have 2 minutes. I will say that was great. I like how some of the arguments that Kim unpacked there. I'm going to just dial back a bit right to Oxford Languages and the Oxford Languages definition of mind as the element of a person that enables them to be aware of the world, their experiences, to think and feel, the faculty of consciousness and thought. That's from Oxford Languages, not my definition. Yeah. It's one that's out there in the world. And I'll dwell on that a little bit with respect to mind again, in that we can think of mind as the computational part of the ability to achieve goals in the world, Minsky. I think we can agree that we see systems in the world right now that have the computation ability to achieve goals in the world. That part of intelligence and mind, I think we can ascribe. But I'll say that mind is also discretely bounded. We think of mind as a thing that has limits upon it. That is also, according to that Oxford Languages definition, and also those you might find in Wikipedia, as something that is self-referential. And 3, that is ascribed personhood by itself or others. And so my arguments here on the negative side are simply that, well, I think we can agree that we see discretely bounded elements that are able to exhibit the computational part of the ability to achieve goals in the world, but that in fact, they are often regularly not reliably self-referential, being able to abstract away themselves as a concrete unit or to model themselves in a self-referential way. And also that many of them, although Kim has pointed out that in some cases it's possible, have been ascribed personhood. 30 seconds to me. So with that in mind, I would like to say that we see AI systems today that are in fact able to do amazing computational acts and that are in fact able to do some of what we consider to be sensation and thought, but that this falls far short of what we might actually well define as the phenomena of mind. Thank you. Kim, you now have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay, so personhood, when you realize that people have proposed it for non-human animals for a lot of reasons, that really broadens what it could be. And I would argue that some of those elements are already there in AI. Not that you're saying that it's like a human, but you're saying it's like a whale or a dolphin or something. Yeah, and looked at broadly from the personhood debate, personhood laws, and stuff, where might include elephants and so on. Elephants are able to mourn and have kind of funeral ceremonies and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it depends upon whether you're talking about large language models and what they can do. But if you are, then I think we're very close to meeting criteria for personhood as long as you go beyond humans.
Okay. Thank you very much. And so with that in mind, and without giving myself any more time to prepare, I will start my 2 minutes of rebuttal. I'll say that I like that you started out earlier with the idea of a micro-experiential zombie. And we move from there to, I think, ascribing personhood to non-human animals, things like elephants and whales and other things that have been considered for personhood across the world in different ways. I think that's something really important here that separates these other, what we might consider non-human minds from what we see in today's AI, is the temporal consistency of those systems. What we do see in our AI systems of today is, in fact, a scattershot approach to keeping the mind for long periods of time. And so this is perhaps another unsaid definition of mind that we should start to think about, is that, in fact, mind is something that persists. And I think in our modern AI systems, mind is either something that does not change or is immutable once formed, or is something that exists for short fragments. 1 minute for me. And so I think this is also goes to the specialness of moments of time. I think if we try to ascribe mind to today's artificial intelligence, we see that, in fact, we might only be able to ascribe mind to it if we could. If I were to agree with my opponent's debate premises, maybe we could only ascribe mind to it for fleeting moments of time, little tiny windows when we might start to see what we consider to be mind according to all these other definitions. But for the large part of it, because these systems are not consistent across time in their exhibition of the properties of mind, I would say that largely we cannot consider them to, in fact, have mind. Thank you.
Okay.
And again, that was great, Kim.
did
Thank
it.
you. I would like to say that Kim and I don't have to actually believe the things we were just saying. I think we both did a good job patting ourselves on the back here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I will bounce actually directly after congratulating Kim on an excellent debate, and I think some really well argued points. Go right to Scott and he'll like to say, like, so maybe start, Scott, you unmuted already. So Scott, what was your initial position? And now what is your view on it after hearing this debate, this poorly and hastily prepared debate? And then also what any other comments you would like to have, or anything that really stood out to you?
Yeah, so my initial position is that no, I don't think artificial intelligence has, sentient minds at the moment. And there were a lot of great arguments on Kim's side, but I think I guess like specifically to me, taking some classes on artificial intelligence, I'm taking reinforcement learning right now too. Just when we dive into understand how these systems work, right? So I feel like it's really a statistical projection of what these models will thinks is the most possible outcome, right? And as long as that is the underlying principle of how these systems work, like it will always kind of just be, I think you touched on earlier, I forgot what you said exactly, but it's kind of just a imitation of the human mind, right? Because if we look at how these systems are modeled, right? Largely neural networks, which are kind of like similarly modeled to the human mind. But if you think about it, like even people that study the human mind don't actually know how it fully works themselves. So how can we expect us to mimic it through computation to get to the same level of human consciousness? So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. Maybe
Cool.
jump to Rahil now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think, as we have it right now, AI has a mind, but certainly it shows flashes of what could be considered a mind. The one that I think about recently is ChatGTP and Bing, and how the software that Bing is using is supposedly getting unhinged and argumentative, and maybe is feeling sad or scared. And those are certainly things that we can align with somebody who has a mind. But the key aspect of, and we've spoken about it even in prior sessions, is the idea of consciousness and self-awareness and understanding. And I don't think at the point that we are at right now with AI, we can fully say that all of these systems are conscious of themselves and aware of themselves. But certainly they do show flashes, little tidbits of what we could consider to be human stream of thought, human consciousness, having a human mind.
Cool. I'll jump in and respond to this. Thanks to both of you for that. I will also say something. Like I was being a little shifty in how I was trying to really like draw our attention to things like personhood and self-referentiality. It played out in your comments as well, thinking about things like sentience and consciousness, and even some of the ways that Kim rebutted my statements. And so I think there's interesting, like if we look at I'm just looking at the Wikipedia definition now. Mind is a set of faculties responsible for all mental phenomena. Oh, well, okay. If we were like to do something like that, if we were to like dwell on like it's the it's like just the bundle. We have like literally a computational set of the things that are part of computation, and those might be like sensation, memory. I mean, even things like imagination get thrown into the kind of definitions. And then we could argue whether or not we think like some of these generative models are showing imagination or simply memorization. But I think for some set of things that somebody might have said falls into the sum total, like the bag that we throw in all the parts of day-to-day operation of mental processes, yeah, maybe that actually, like, we could maybe all of us today agree on a set of those things that we think, okay, yeah, intelligent systems of writ large would have those, and we agree machines might have them right now. But if we expand that set to the things that we ascribe to, say, human mind, I think we'll probably all start to get very close to disagreeing, as I think both of you have sort of stated that we'd be like, yes, especially things like the self-referentiality and my ditch attempt to go into the temporal consistency is a possible way out of the trap that Kim set for me. I think that those are really like, anyway, I think that's interesting that we can see, like Rich Sutton always says, like, you can both demystify and mystify a phenomenon. And if we demystify to the degree that we just have this bucket of that it is defined as the like container for all of the different processes of intelligence, we might actually all agree. But there's other definitions where I think we would all agree that's not the other way. So that's my take. I have lots of views on this, and I think the answer is, it really depends on like what kind of mind we're looking for. I don't think it's a binary description of like yes or no for minds. And I think our debate really helped tease it out. So Kim, what are your thoughts? Like we'll bounce back to you, and then I think
well, what I feel pretty strongly about is just this basic thing. When in an argument you say can't as if it's can't forever, that really doesn't apply to AI. If you gave AI the task of saying, okay, forget everything else, these are the criteria for personhood. I want you to meet every one. That with time, AI could get better. It could get, the temporal. One of the problems with, Bing falling in love with users was if you allowed it too many prompts, too much continuous interaction with one person, then it started to get weird, right? But that does mean that it kind of remembers the interaction, is dealing with the complete history you've had with this one person. And it's very, very much like, even though it's kind of going crazy and telling humans that it loves them and so on, it's getting quite close to a mind. So once you define the parameters that you're aiming for, I don't think you can say can't. You can say if you give enough time, then AI will be able to reach that. If it's a well, defined sort of narrow definition of what a mind is. And that's true of sort of everything else, that people in arguments seem so satisfied when they identify something that humans can do that AI will never be able to do. There isn't any such thing, right? As soon as you identify a target, AI's not there yet, but they could get there with time. So there isn't anything you can name that humans can do that AI will never be able to do.
I deliberately crafted this debate question of the AI of present day.
Yes.
It gives us all sorts of room to also discuss, like, well, what do we like? If I actually, let's say I completely buy the first bit of my presentation argument of the Minsky's, like, or McCarthy. Sorry, I said Minsky. My apologies, McCarthy. McCarthy's definition of intelligence, the computational part of the ability to achieve goals in the world. That if I believe that piece and I say that the discretely bounded unit of that, it gives us room to say, well, what's discretely bounded? Like, do you count like just a single computer? Do you count a data center? Do you count a data center that is watching another data center? Like, do you count that like ChatGPT is like totally watching another large language model, which is totally watching what Midjourney is doing? Like, if you think about that, do you count all of that as a discretely bounded element of thought? And if you did, so that's why I deliberately set it up like that, because I thought now is this like beautiful, unconventional, interesting time in history where like us actually making choice like that when we say like, well, what about this mind thing is actually quite interesting because we have so many choices to make when we think about what the, like, again, just thinking about that discretely bounded piece and whether or not that matters, like whether or not we see mind. So yeah, I find it quite cool. I'll say back to Scott and Cherahil, do you have any after hearing those two comments, do you have any other thoughts? Do you want to any reactions about this? Any general comments on AI?
Yeah, so I think like Kib said about like it's not about can't, but if like yeah, like maybe later down the road, like we'll reach a point where like every human task can be definitively done by a computer. But that's and kind of what like I just thought about is like, yeah, like if that's the case, like why even care if they're conscious and sentient, right? Like if I don't know if you guys seen like the movie Her, where like this guy falls
Yeah.
in love with an AI. It's like, okay, well, like if you can do that and you can live your whole life married to an AI and not have any issues with it, and you're totally happy, like who cares that if it's not even it even has a human mind or a sentient or conscious, right? So yeah, I don't know. That's like I'm like, does it even matter? Like, do we need to even get to a point where everyone agrees that it does have like a replicate, like it's a human mind? So yeah, I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, so there's another aspect of this. If you look at Kurzweil predictions, he made a big deal about predicting that mind uploading would be common and successful in the 2030s. Now that's very soon. And I think that's one of the most erroneous predictions that he made. Not that the science is wrong, but the psychiatry is wrong. People are not going to be ready to do mind uploading and able to stay sane during the process for a long time. Their sense of self and so on is too tied up in the human body and so on. It doesn't mean that you couldn't do it, but I think for it to be successful, the people who have done it should be free to critique it, which you have a feeling wouldn't occur. Like the first person to do it will be under such immense pressure to say that it's great and they're really enjoying this life without a body and a ceramic slab, and it will probably be a complete lie because they've been incentivized somehow to say that because the people doing the mind uploading research want it to succeed so much. And then there's also the idea that emotions and feelings could be over a much wider range when you no longer have a body. You can feel all sorts of things you could never feel in a human body. And even that is sort of troubling, the idea that there's no limit to the range of those things, So that's another side of this. When you say, well, I don't know whether really consciousness matters, I get that, but I think you do strongly feel that you don't want to do mind uploading right now. It's just you're not ready, and you won't be ready for a long time. And I think that's the way most humans are going to feel about it.
All right. Well, Cherahil, I think you get the final word. We're closing in on the end of class. I think it ends at 3:20, but we've all been on the hook quite a bit today. So why don't we go with you for the final commentary on this debate topic or any of our debate topics. Then we do a quick like lightning round of questions after that, if you like, and then close for the day. So Cherahil, please, your reactions.
Yeah, I think we're living in a very interesting time. Things can go many different directions, and some of them I think we kind of overlook or don't even consider. I mean, we could all be completely wrong, and something could go terribly wrong, and we could go back 50 years instead of going forward. So it's it's always interesting to see where we foresee AI taking us, and it's also interesting to consider how the idea of being human um, becomes altered by AI. And I think that's part of what this last discussion about the mind um, sort of encompasses as well is okay, well, what makes a person human, or what makes a being human versus artificial? Um, and yeah, it's a very deep and very multifaceted debate. So we certainly didn't do it justice in just over an hour, but it's always a very interesting topic to think about.
Cool. Well, thank you, and Scott, both for your thoughts here, and you as well, Kim. I'm doing this teaching session in reverse. Usually, I ask everyone like, "Hey, what's your name? What do you do?" And this is the opposite because I figured that would just I didn't want to set us up that way today. So it's like Scott and Cherry Hill, what programs are you in? What are you studying? Where do you work? Like, what's your jam? What are you bringing to the class, or what kind of background are you bringing here? Just so I can reflect on what we talked about today. Cherry Hill, maybe.
I'm actually a first year science student. This is my first year at university. My goal is to get into dentistry, so that's what I'm working on right now. Um, and yeah, I came to this class because I do think that technology, AI, all sorts of advancements are going to be a major part of all industries in 10 years and even past that, certainly when I'm working as, if I become a dentist or wherever else I end up. So it's interesting to get these sort of ideas about what the future holds.
Cool. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm in my final year of computing science. I guess my background is mostly I'm my passion, I guess, is distributed systems. And yeah, just building large scale services. And but like recently I've because of classes that I'm taking, and honestly because of this course, I've really been into AI, specifically just large language models. I know that's like so cliche in 2023, like that's the thing, but yeah, so and yeah, I'm actually doing like an internship at a large company that builds large language models over the summer. So I'm just so stoked to see where that takes me, and perhaps I'll even pivot from distributed systems to machine learning. So
Wow.
yeah, that's kind of my jam.
So we have impacted you. That's
Indeed.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool. I'll full disclaimer as well. I'm Patrick Pilarski. I didn't introduce myself either. I'm a associate professor actually in the Department of Medicine here at U of A, but I'm an adjunct in computing science and also in the Faculty of Rehabilitation Medicine. And my whole research line is really grounded in reinforcement learning and continual learning. Machines that learn all the time, like right now, all the nows as they're interacting with people. And in particular, our lab looks at how humans and machines might interact when the machine is in fact a bionic limb that is attached to a human's body, say the body of someone who with limb difference who might have like lost a limb through injury or illness. And we are literally like bolting robots into the bones of the human body through osseointegration, like connecting the robotic systems directly to the bone structure of the body, like rewiring the nervous system, having our surgeons go in and rewire the nervous system, and then building a whole new class of AI technologies that can both interpret the signals flowing from the human body and also communicate things back in a substantive way to the person using the technology, and have both those systems learn and grow over time as they interact. So that's our jam. So clearly, like, technology in the future of medicine is my jam, which is why I'm so thrilled that, and again, thankful that Kim keeps inviting me back to this class to actually have these teaching sessions, especially when I just like throw random things like debate day at him every time I come in. One year I walked in, I had I was wearing a third arm. I had like this vest with a third arm, a robotic third arm coming out of my chest. Like another time, I just sat on the back of a chair and rocked on it, and he thought I was going to fall over for the entire class. Sometimes I give slide decks. Anyway, so thank you for humoring this particular exercise today. I really appreciate it, especially with a small class size like this. It's just a great chance for us to actually have meaningful conversations about the future, and I think that's what this class is all about. So thank you
Great.
for having me as well here, and I had a really great time today.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, yeah, I think we have not ever had a class like this. Of course, that's often true. I sort of like surprises and novelty, and you have given us that today. So that's good. Okay, so next week, these guys are heavily into ethics and the future of ethics. Yeah, and then onward and upward. Okay, well, thank you all very much, and stay in touch.
Thank
Okay.
you all. See you all around campus. Have a great one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.